Cinemaster lovers,
Kill the rider.
welcome back.
Bad at all.
I hope you're ready for an exciting experience because we've got something special for you today.
Take me down! You're in danger!
Get comfortable, grab your snacks, and let's dive right into the action. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's get started. A long time ago, dragons lived among humans until a dragon knight appeared, greedy for all the power and killed all the dragons. Since then, he became the ruler and killed people, specifically the free people known as the Varden. The survivors fled to the mountains, waiting for a miracle to defeat Galbatorix, the ruler. One night, Arya, who collaborated with the Varden, was escaping with a stone she stole from the king. The king ordered his sorcerer to retrieve the stone urgently. Meanwhile, Eragon was preparing himself and left without anyone knowing, heading to the king's forest to hunt, where Arya was fleeing from the sorcerer. The sorcerer and his men ambushed her and killed her guards. Eragon reached a deer, and Arya found the trees moving around her as the sorcerer chanted spells to reach her, demanding the stone. She lifted it, saying words that made it appear before Eragon suddenly, leaving him puzzled about how it happened. The sorcerer asked her about the stone's location, but she refused to tell him. Eragon approached the stone, unaware of its nature. When he touched it, Arya felt it. Realizing he had reached the new night, Eragon returned to the village, attempting to trade the stone for meat, but the butcher, realizing it was from the king's forest, panicked and refused, telling him to leave. Soldiers were at Brom's place, hunting birds from the king's forest, and Eragon decided to let them be. He hit the guard, giving them the birds, not wanting any trouble, at least for now. Eragon returned to his farm, played with his cousin until their uncle Garrow arrived. Eragon hid the stone and went to work, telling him he would pave his own way and leave, knowing the soldiers would come looking for him. He never intended to serve in the army, unsure of his destination but knowing he had to leave. At night, his uncle told him that a day would come when he must choose his path, but Eragon expressed his love for living there. The next day, Roran left, saying goodbye to his father, and later, Eragon saw him off in the village. He stayed until returning home, discovering the stone was an egg hatching before him, revealing a small dragon. He approached it, surprised, saying it was clearly not a bird. When he tried to touch it, a strange light appeared, heard by the king and Arya. The sorcerer went to her, asking about the egg's location, but she said it was too late. Using magic to see what happened, he discovered who had the dragon. Eragon awoke, hearing Arya's voice in his mind, finding the dragon asleep beside him, a mark on his hand. His uncle called him, finding the dragon hungry, trying to feed it milk, which it spilled, refusing more. The dragon heard a mouse and quickly ate it. Meanwhile, the sorcerer reported to the king, who learned the egg hatched for a farm boy. The king dismissed its current location, concerned the Varden might challenge him again if they learned a knight had returned. He ordered the boy found and killed before he became a man. Eragon, in the forest, admired the dragon, saying its mother left it too. He approached, showing affection. In the castle, the sorcerer prepared strange creatures to kill Eragon, who heard men discussing hardships. Brom spoke of the Dragon Age, recounting a fearless time with knights and dragons. Eragon listened, intrigued, hearing the ruler's desire for soul power. Soldiers overheard, reporting to the king, but Eragon intervened, allowing Brom to continue, saying knights would return. The next day, Eragon tried to fly the dragon, noticing its growth, successfully flying for the first time, surprised by its distance. His hand glowed brightly, the dragon transforming, growing larger, returning to Eragon in a new form, revealing herself as female, hearing his thoughts, naming herself Saphira, calling him her knight. That night, Eragon visited Brom, finding a book on dragon history. Brom appeared, urging him to leave quickly. Eragon wanted to learn more about dragons, but Brom silenced him before soldiers heard, telling him to return to his farm and avoid trouble. Eragon accused him of lying or cowardice, claiming the story true, then left. Brom retrieved a red sword, suspicious. In the village, Eragon overheard the butcher mentioning his name to strangers, the sorcerer's creatures seeking him. The butcher revealed his farm's location, and Eragon hid, escaping the creature. He ran, determined to save his uncle before the sorcerer's beast arrived, but Saphira flew him away, insisting it was too late. She released him, and he rushed home, finding his uncle dead by the beast. Blaming Saphira, he wished he could have saved him, telling her to leave. She flew away. Brom arrived, seeing Eragon's night mark, asking where the dragon was, insisting they couldn't stay. Eragon wanted to bury his uncle, but Brom burned the body, calling it a king's funeral. They left, knowing they were being hunted, setting off together, Eragon seeing his burning home for the last time. In the forest, Braum asked him to summon his dragon, explaining it protected him from the sorcerer's beasts. Eragon claimed he could have killed them, but Braum told him that the creatures showed no mercy. A boy like him stood no chance. He told him, "Fine, I'll kill the sorcerer," and they realized that this was a sorcerer made of shadows, filled with evil spirits, and if he finds you, you'll end up like your uncle. It's better to run away from him because you are the last hope of the Varden. They asked about them and learned that they were rebels against the king, brave men, or you could say madmen because they were fighting the king himself. He asked, "How did you know?" He replied that he was once one of them and saw things you could never imagine. He said, "Bring your dragon," but he replied, "You won't be able to hear me, it's far away," and got angry because he knew it could read thoughts, and the two were connected. He actually communicated with it and was surprised that it arrived quickly. He also apologized to it for what he said, but it understood and asked who this was. He told her that he was Braum and that he knew everything about dragons. Braum went to her, assessing her body, muscles, claws, fangs, and soft paws. "It's clear you're still young." She was genuinely pleased with his assessment, and he told Eragon, "One day, you'll fly with her. My story is about you. You are the dragon rider the Varden need to defeat the sorcerer and his master." Eragon said, "I didn't choose this," and was told, "You have no choice in this matter. This egg hatches when it senses a rider. The egg waits for riders for thousands of years without any problems. As long as the dragon found you, it will protect you. The easiest way for the king to kill the dragon is to kill the rider himself. The rider will live if the dragon dies, but the dragon won't live if the rider dies." In the castle, there were the sorcerer's savage soldiers. He appeared among them to approach one of them working, and stabbed a dagger in his leg, saying, "You must find this boy. Bring me his head." Braum told Eragon, "The sorcerer will definitely send his men, so we must travel 5 days to reach the Varden. Have Saphira fly to see if anyone is near us or not from above and tell her to return at night." He actually instructed her, and Saphira flew, but the sorcerer's soldiers saw her flying. The two began their journey until they heard screams and took another path to see the sorcerer's men assaulting people to reach them. Now they had to get away as quickly as possible. Eragon asked, "Why don't we attack them?" He replied, "No, you're not ready." And Eragon revealed he had skills and had been training with his cousin. He said, "Maybe I underestimated you, uncle," and went to try his skill, immediately knocking him to the ground. He got up again and struck him, but Braum continued to hit his wood, saying, "The enemy won't be your cousin, and the wood will be a sword." Then he communicated with Saphira in his thoughts, saying, "By the way, I left him because he's just an old man." He asked Braum when the dragon breathes fire. Braum said she is still young, and spoke a strange word that ignited the fire. Eragon was surprised and asked how he did it, but he didn't want to explain and told him he needed to sleep now, because they would continue their journey early to the next village and then to the mountains at the Varden. The next day, the two set off on their way until they actually reached the village. Eragon had a vision of Arya. Braum woke him, saying, "We'll leave the horses here and keep Saphira close." They entered houses by the river, and Braum went to buy some bread, telling him not to talk to anyone here. When he left, he saw a stranger watching him from the side, so he quickly entered the hut as if it were a witch's house. A woman appeared before him, saying, "Come, read the fortune." He told her he had no money, but she informed him she didn't ask for money. He sensed something strange, but agreed. She told him that this matter was difficult, a complicated life, and strange words, and a great battle would occur. He said he didn't understand. She told him he had great power and needed to focus on it because death was approaching him quickly. "A woman is calling you in your dreams, right?" He asked her name, and when he left, one of the sorcerer's men caught him, and Braum killed him, and he was upset from Eragon. They were surprised that all the residents disappeared, and another sorcerer appeared. They quickly escaped after fighting him, with soldiers behind them. Braum tried to stop them, and when Eragon shot an arrow, the soldiers kept increasing. One of them grabbed Eragon, and he said a strange word, striking the arrow with magical force to blow up all the soldiers on the bridge they were on. Then he fainted as Saphira arrived, and Arya started to feel pain. Eragon woke the next day, tired, and Braum told him that what a rider learns in years, he learned in days. Eragon said he acted instinctively and went to check on Saphira. Braum told him she was fine, and felt fear as if it were him, because their bond was strong. However, magic should be your last resort because it has no limits or rules. You must learn the ancient language to learn magic, and you need to be strong to withstand it. Be careful. Certain spells can kill you, but I can teach you the words you need. However, you must know your own limits. You can also see through Saphira's eyes, but now, we need to cross these mountains. It will be easier by flying. Braum had prepared Saphira with a saddle, and everything was ready. She asked if he was ready for the second attempt. He mounted her, and they both prepared. He was terrified by the sight of the slope, but she went straight down and began flying over the river, then rose again. He barely held on as she accelerated. Meanwhile, Braum was below, very happy, and Saphira told him that when we're all together and united, we'll fight from anywhere. He tried to stand to reach the tail, but it was clear that it will not happen this time. Then he said the word that allowed him to see through Saphira's eyes, seeing everything from her perspective, even zooming in. The sorcerer's monster appeared, and Brahm was captured. Above, Eragon saw them heading towards him and told Saphira it was time to get rid of them. She flew between the trees, but one of them jumped on him, causing Eragon to fall, and Saphira also crashed into the trees. Eragon used all his strength to make the tree pull the monster off him. When he reached Saphira, another one appeared, and Brahm started fighting him. He managed to stab him with the red sword. While they were treating Saphira, Brahm told him, "You must protect your dragon. She could have died because of you." Saphira told Eragon she was very strong, but Brahm told him he had to reach the Varden alive. Eragon revealed the rider's mark on his hand and told them both, "Yes, that's right, but where's your dragon?" He told them it had died at the hands of another rider with this sword, the dragon-slaying sword. That rider was named Morzan, and he killed her when she was protecting me. That's why I searched for him, took his sword, and stabbed it into his heart, killing him too. There were no riders with dragons left except for the king, and I stayed hidden in the village. Because of me, the days of dragons ended until you came along with her, bringing those days back again. At the same time, the soldiers go to the sorcerer, and he tells them, "All I asked was for you to bring me the boy, but you brought nothing." He plants his nail in the head of one of them, who was the leader, kills him, and makes another the leader. Then he goes to Arya and poisons her in the chest. When Eragon, who was asleep, dreamed of her in the forest, she told him she was a princess and that he was the only one who could save her. When he asked her where she was, she said she was with the sorcerer and imprisoned. It turned out that the sorcerer was speaking to him through Arya. When Brahm woke up, he found Eragon packing his things, ready to go and save Arya. So he told him, "This is the opposite of our path. We need to reach the Varden. We can't turn back after coming this far." Eragon replied, "I decide what I do, and that he was wrong, and that Arya wouldn't want him. There are people still waiting for you." But Eragon ignored all of this and left. Saphira told him, "You must be wise. It will benefit you." But he didn't listen to her or Brahm and told Saphira, "I am the rider here. Now fly with me." They both set off until they reached the fortress. They would wait until nightfall to attack. Saphira told him that death lay behind those walls, to which he replied, "I can do it," and save Arya. He entered among the soldiers in disguise, and someone was following him, watching him. When he reached inside, he said the word that allowed him to see through the eyes of dragons to find Arya's location. When he reached her, she told him it wasn't right for him to come here and that he needed to leave quickly, but he had already reached her, and the sorcerer mocked Eragon for being so young. He struck him with a sword, but the sorcerer disappeared and reappeared by the weapons, throwing them all at Eragon, who dodged them until the sorcerer threw stones at him. Eragon blocked them, and the sorcerer said, "Let's see how powerful you are," and raised his spear to kill him. But Brahm arrived at the last moment to save him, and Eragon immediately shot arrows into the sorcerer's head, causing him to disappear. Now they had to escape quickly, all three of them, fighting the soldiers who kept increasing in number. Saphira arrived from above, burying some and killing the rest. The mysterious person reappeared and began fighting alongside Eragon to give him a chance to escape with Saphira. They flew off quickly, but now Brahm was severely injured. Eragon learned that the sorcerer could be killed with a blow to the heart, so he said he must go to the Varden to save him. He gave him the dragon slaying, telling him to go without him and take care of Saphira, for without her, life would feel meaningless. Eragon tried to give him some of his strength to heal him, but he couldn't. His strength wasn't enough for two. Brahm said he loved his personality, a quarter bravery, 3/4 foolishness. Saphira asked Eragon to let Brahm die like a rider, and took him on her back to fly for the first time since the death of the dragon. Afterward, they buried him, and Saphira created something like a crystal on his grave, saying that even time could not reveal it. They continued their journey alone, and the sorcerer called Arya again. She felt someone approaching as the poison spread through her body. Eragon asked for the location of the Varden to take her there, and they discovered how to reach the place. The mysterious person who had helped them at the sorcerer's place turned out to be Murda, who offered his services to the dragon rider, saying, "You want the Varden? And I know the way in the mountains well. Without me, it would be very difficult for you." When asked why he did this, he revealed that the king had killed everyone he knew until he heard that the rider had appeared again. He was asked if he knew the fastest way to the Varden, and he immediately pointed it out. They set off together and traveled a long distance. Now they had to continue on foot, and Saphira urged them to hurry as the sorcerer's soldiers were closing in. A soldier appeared, and Murda killed him with Eragon's sword. They jumped into the river, and Murda followed quickly. They found the Varden waiting for them above the cliff, and the king was now angry with the sorcerer for failing to reach the boy. He said, "You are lucky because this boy led us to the Varden's location. Now we must think about those who defy us. As long as the king is here, they will die." He fought with the army and pursued them, not leaving anyone alive. At the same time, the Varden's leader saw Eragon and told him, "If you are truly a rider, summon the dragon with your mind." He spoke to her with his mind, telling her to be careful as she came. When she arrived, they were amazed at her sight and realized that Arya's pulse was weakening. The Varden leader was asked to heal her from the sorcerer's poison, and Saphira was told to go with her but to be careful. The soldiers arrived outside, fought the guards, but one saw them and quickly informed those inside that the sorcerer's soldiers had arrived. The leader asked Eragon to fight with them, to which he replied, "I came here to fight with you." However, he noticed Murtaugh and went to him, telling the soldiers to hold him. Eragon tried to defend him with Saphira, and the leader realized that he was the son of Morzin the traitor. He said, "The son does not choose his father, and I hated that man." The guards were told to imprison him and kill him if he tried to escape. Meanwhile, the sorcerer prepared his army, telling them, "Tonight, we will kill them all, but the boy is mine." Eragon descended among the Varden's people with the leader and noticed that the people were afraid of him. The leader said, "Doubt is what kept them alive until today. But when we heard about the rider, we expected someone else, maybe a bit older." Eragon replied, "Yes, I've heard that before." His armor was ready, and Arya helped him put it on. She was well again, and everyone was preparing for battle. She told him, "You must be stronger because riders are few these days." They had prepared Saphira's armor, and the war bell rang as everyone took their positions to surprise the sorcerer's soldiers who had arrived and began the attack. It was clear they would win. Saphira went to Eragon and told him they would scare the enemies together and always remain as one. They were all fighting each other below, and the sorcerer's soldiers continued to kill more and more. But they finally reached the two who had them, and Saphira began burning them all to kill the sorcerer's soldiers. Murtaugh kept shouting to be released until an enemy broke in and smashed the door. The fight continued outside, and he went out to fight with them, defending the Varden's soldiers. Even Arya was fighting the sorcerer's army, which kept growing. They attacked the Varden, but Saphira burned them all in front of the sorcerer, who was enraged and uttered words to turn the fire against him. He told Eragon to come, and Saphira attacked him with fire, but to no avail. Even the Dragon Slayer's sword had no effect on the monster. The sorcerer was hitting them, but they quickly rushed to him, and the two collided. Saphira was trying to get past the monster, but it threw her back. When they attacked the sorcerer, Eragon struck, and the shadow dragon came down behind them, grabbing Saphira by the neck, until she hit it back, and Eragon was stabbing him with the dragon-slaying sword to make it let go, and they both escaped quickly. The sorcerer tried to hit them with his power, so Eragon used Saphira's eyes to see him, but Saphira's strength began to weaken because of the shadow monster's bite. He told her, "I know what to do," and when the sorcerer struck, he realized Eragon wasn't there at all. Quickly, Saphira threw him with her tail at the sorcerer, and he managed to stab the sorcerer with a dragon-slaying sword in his heart and said, "This is for Braum. I thought you were stronger than this," and the sorcerer evaporated. When Saphira was falling, she tried to catch herself before hitting the ground, but she couldn't, and they both fell, taking a hard hit that battered her. Eragon quickly rushed to her, and the monster's fangs had pierced her neck. She said, "We did it together," he told her, "Take my life," and tried to give her his strength again, but she closed her eyes and he fainted because his strength wasn't enough for two bodies together. The Varden won the war because of Saphira and Eragon. The next day, he woke up to find Murtaugh with him. When he asked about Saphira, Murtaugh pretended to be sad, but he was joking with him as she was still alive. She told him, "I'm glad you're foolish and also hasty." He said, "A wise man once told me, a quarter courage and 3/4 foolishness." He learned from Murtaugh that Arya had traveled back to her country. Saphira told him, "I've never seen a horse faster than me," and she took Eragon and flew quickly to catch up with Arya on the road. Eragon went down to her to say goodbye before she left. She told him she was traveling to her people to prepare for the king's revenge and said, "You know, people have started telling stories about you. The legend of the dragon rider who killed the evil sorcerer and the dark dragons. You've become famous." When he asked if he would see her again, she said, "Time passes quickly. Yesterday you were a poor farmer, and today you're a dragon rider. Who knows what tomorrow holds?" Saphira told him, "Time passes faster than you imagine," and they both flew up. And with that, our movie comes to a close. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, make sure to subscribe for more awesome content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.